All right, guys. It is 4:30. Little John Prine there. He is currently suffering from coronavirus. Grew up listening to him with my dad, so I thought I would pay some homage. Great kind of folkish singer if you haven't heard him before. We're going to be talking today about riding, trying to strategize against Coach Bergman's talk that he did at 3 o'clock. He did a great job, but we're going to flip the script and actually use one of the same clips that he did and talk about it from a riding perspective. Right. So we'll share the screen here and get going. While we're doing this, there's three main rules of riding that I like to use when teaching riding. And I think, there's kind of an overarching theme that Coach Byrne helped me with. But the three main rules of riding, and we're going to go through them in these two clips, and then with the actually two drills that I have to work on them separately. The first rule is ball pressure. And Coach Byrne preaches it defensively. I learned it from him. I learned it while I was playing for him at Notre Dame. It was, ball pressure is essential. And I think it can cover up a lot of mistakes if your attackman and your riding players can get ball pressure. So the first thing that you have to do is get ball pressure. And the next thing you have to do is take away the easiest pass. And that doesn't always mean maybe just the first adjacent, but it means upfield, right? You don't want – it's really tough to cause turnovers or be a good riding team if you let people throw the ball north-south and get upfield, right? So if you get ball pressure and you have your players taking away the easiest pass, then the ball is going to be east-west. You can't cover everybody. You're 6-on-7. And then the last piece to kind of bring all of this together is communication. You have to be able to communicate and really back to front and then side to side. You need your players who are subbing on, your LSM, your D-middies, to come on and be able to effectively communicate with clear and concise language and direct the people in front of them. The attackmen need to be hearing communication from the back and trusting that they can either step up field or they need to drop. And then they need to be communicating with each other side to side, right? Are they going to bump left, bump right? Hey, step up, bump up. All of these things are simple, right? But when you tie them all together, you can be a really effective riding team. And I think an overarching theme in riding is how you enter and exit every approach that you have, right? And Coach Byrne has talked about that a lot throughout his defensive presentations. But it applies everywhere, right? I think it applies offensively, and it really applies here because you can't waste steps. And we're going to see some examples of that in these drills. Just to remind everyone, if you weren't here for Coach Hutchinson or Coach Kyle's presentation, there is no chat anymore. Some people abused it, so we had to take it away. If you click on participants, on your screen, you should see a raise your hand feature. You can click that. We will get to you. I'll get to questions at the end. We're going to go through this. We're going to go through two drills on the whiteboard and then some practice film of it really quick. And I don't have anyone after me, so hopefully, we'll get to a few questions and talk about riding. I think, I'm super excited about this. I think riding is overlooked a lot of times. And honestly, it's a really, really fun area to coach. And I don't think I was very good at it when I first started coaching, but I think I've gotten better and learning from some different people and kind of narrowing down what you want to be focusing on. So while we're watching this, we're going to talk about those three things, and we're also going to be using the PLL Championship game, the Whip Snakes versus the Redwoods, and this game, it's not a coincidence that this game had some great riding clips because Matt Cavanaugh I had the privilege of playing with, and I missed Ryder Garnsey, but both those guys are two of the best riding attackmen I've ever seen. They're up there with Joey Sankey, Billy Bitter, Jimmy Bitter, all those guys. I think Cav is in a league of his own. The way he hustles and earns extra possessions, and we're going to see that here, right? So this first clip, right? We see Coach Bergman use this clip, but we are a little choppy. So the first thing we see here, all right, and, off of this is we get big in the goalie's face, right? And I think this is really, really important to prevent upfield passes, right? And even more so if we go back, right, the shot, you have to win when the ball's on the ground off a save, off of a turnover. You have to win the first 2 or 3 seconds, right? Your attackmen have to react and get to their spots and outwork the clearing team if you're going to have a chance, right? Whether if you have some guys subbing, you have to do that. If not, you have to. We're going to go small screen because that doesn't seem to be working. If you don't, then guys are going to be able to clear it because you're 6-on-7. All right. And you see here, right, after Jules Hennenberg gets big in the goalie, right, there's a guy open here, but he can't get it to him. That may have been a 1 or 2 pass clear. He has to run around the back. And now Ryder's here, kind of a crafty play to wait for the goalie to come out the back, right? We don't love that he jumps. I think that's, something that, most coaches will agree with, right? We don't love when an attackman jumps, right? So Jules does it, jump. That's going to make the exit, right, out of this and onto your next roll a little bit tougher, right? But Ryder makes up for it here by really hustling, right? I think Jules does a great job of getting upfield, right? We see him, starting to drop. He takes away this easy pass right here, so we can't throw it, right? And then he's going to break up field here while Ryder is going to get up and north-south to make this, one, a really great approach by him and a really tough play for this defenseman to make, right? He already feels the pressure. Ryder's 5 yards away, right? But he's feeling the pressure. He knows that Ryder's making an approach here, so he has to get rid of the ball, right? His internal clock is going, right? So we play from here. Ryder does a great job getting here and forces the ball, again, east-west. So now the ball's gone one pass, right, to here. Goalie went here. And now ball's going back here. We are, it looks like, 6 seconds into this, and they haven't gotten the ball past GLE. And that's a testament to, Kavanaugh's up here guarding a guy, the Redwood middies, Jules getting in the goalie's face early right here, and then Ryder chasing the ball back a couple times. All right, so we get here. Ryder doesn't, he maybe wastes a step or two, but he hustles. He gets here, tries to, throw a check, turns, doesn't waste time, and gets right back to the goalie, right? And here, this is a really, really important play, right? If he jumps here, he doesn't get to make a play. He wastes a couple steps, and we'll see later that those steps, are he's going to want those back. So this approach, right, he gets north-south, which I think is really important. He's going to approach to the goalie's hands. He's going to get ball pressure, right? Nothing is more frustrating than when a guy stops 3 or 4 yards away from the ball carrier. Then you don't have ball pressure. It may look like you're guarding him, but he has his hands and his eyes. So Ryder's bursting to get here. And now, right, we're going to see if we can slow, right? Doesn't take that extra step and try to get a check like he did on the defenseman, right? He instead hard plants, right? We saw that with his right foot, right? Left foot. And now he's turning and getting back to this guy, right? And we're now 2 more seconds. They have to throw another east-west pass, right? That's not a great pass. So this guy has to catch it over his shoulder, right? With Ryder, again, him feeling the pressure of Ryder making this approach and taking a really good angle. And he's not able to throw a pass yet. So by the time that he gets his stick back and he's ready to throw the ball, right, Ryder's going to be close to him. All right. And as we saw in Coach Bergman's clip, if you were here, there's a 3-on-2 up the field here. But the way to take that away is with ball pressure and scraping lanes and really let's stick with ball pressure. Right? Let's not confuse it. It's ball pressure. So he gets here, he forces this pass, and we're going to see Matt Cavanaugh enter the screen here, right here. And what he's doing a really good job of is he's scraping the lane, right? He's taking away the upfield pass. But the defenseman who's right over the midfield line, if they get it there, the clear's over, right? The Redwoods are subbing midfielders. The attackman can't go over. The clear's over. So he's scraping that lane and forcing the ball here. And what he's able to do is now break because Ryder gets ball pressure, right? Rule number 1. Rule number 2, Cav takes away the easiest pass, so forces a not as easy pass, right? Guy inside out, right? Throwing, this angle, right-handed outside, is much harder than throwing straight up, right, to the defenseman who's right here, right? So he now breaks, and then we're going to watch his footwork on this, right? We talked about the overarching theme of this whole thing is entries and exits on top of those 3 rules. So what he's able to do, right, is make an approach, get to this guy's hands, and force, a really tough play for this midfielder, right? Not a great pass, gets to his hands, prevents him from catching and turning, right? He bodies him up. And then the last piece of this, riding attackmen are a special breed, right? It's something that guys just do, right? You can teach them these rules. You can run the drills that we're going to do. You need guys who are committed to riding all the way to the midfield line and hustling constantly, the whole time, or a lot of it's not going to matter. And if we watch Ryder, who makes the play to force a bad pass here, and then let's watch as the ball goes on the ground, Cav squares the guy up, right? Jules Hennenberg is coming in to make a play, and Ryder goes from forcing 3 or 4 east-west passes, right, all the way back here, right? Ryder's right here, and a couple seconds later, right, Ryder's now making this ground ball play and now pushing transition for his team, right? So, the ball pressure is what first makes this all possible. I think that the footwork that Ryder and Kev and Jules showed was exceptional, right? I think that's really important in this, but getting ball pressure and then taking away the easiest pass, and we'll see that more in the next clip, are crucial, right? And the communication, we can't see it or hear it as much in these, but if you've, in any aspect of this game, you have to be able to communicate effectively, right? So on to the next clip here, right? Ryder comes down, and another hidden part of this clip is he makes a great decision not to press this, right? He tests it. Defenseman makes a good approach, and he survives, and they get to play more 6-on-6 offense. All right, so we get to the next clip here. Now, fourth quarter, tie game 10-10, right? Turnover happens, all right? But the attackmen don't waste this. They don't say, throw their hands up and say, why'd you drop that pass, or turn to sub, or just drop to the midfield line. You've got Kavanaugh right here, right? And Ryder, who, again, is going to make a great play here, right here. And Wes Berg is now in the game at attack. Also another great scrappy riding attackman, all, looking to make a play here and not concede the fact that, we lost possession, right? So ball goes out the back, and we see right away, Joe Walters, a midfielder, would have been easy for him to turn and hightail it to the box, right? Stays and covers this guy, right? If he's not here, he can get the ball to a defenseman, trust him handling the ball a little more probably, or escaping and getting upfield, and the clear's out, right? You see another midfielder right here that Kavanaugh is close enough to deter this pass, right? So now, and, if he's able to get his hands, right, because if Ryder doesn't get good ball pressure, Wes Berg is covering the next upfield pass, right? So the closest pass that Kyler is going to be able to make here, right, is at least, 20 to 25 yards away, and we can't see what's going on there, but we know that all the 3 easiest options upfield are all taken away, and that's critical, right? And it starts, not only that, but we have Ryder getting ball pressure right on top of the goalie seconds after he's picked up the ball, right? Win those first few seconds, right? So we continue to play here. All right. We don't love the jump, but he makes, the goalie double clutch, right? And give guys a little more time. Wes Berg stays deep. But when you're here, and this is where, having instinctual riding attackman is so crucial, right? Watch Wes Berg. We know at this point where the ball's going, right? This guy knows because he's pointing, right? Ball's going to end up going to this guy because that's all we can see, right? We know the next guy is covered by Cav upfield, and he's not going to be able to throw a back-footed, dime, or, he might be able to, but most goalies are not going to be able to throw a clearing pass off their back foot with ball pressure to a guy covered at least 20 to 30 yards away. So ball's going right here, right? And Wes Berg is going to make a break, right, on this ball, knowing it's going there, And Ryder does a great job getting ball pressure. Westberg, now even if this ball lands in, Westberg's here ready to make a play and push him out of bounds, right? And even so, you know, they're in the PLL, there's not a clearing clock, but in, you know, every other league, there's a clearing clock. And now you've wasted, you know, close to 10 seconds on this play. And again, the ball is 5 yards or 5 yards below GLE. And that means it's at least, you know, 40 to 50 yards from the midfield line and clearing the ball. Right. So West does a great job, and that earns them an extra possession that they end up scoring off of. Right. So they end up going up, you know, the Whipsnakes end up winning the game, but because they get the ball back here, the Redwoods score on this next possession and you know, have a chance to win the game because the attack decided, and Joe Walters, right, an offensive mid, he stayed on to guard a guy because the team committed to riding, you know, did the little things right, and you know, were able to make a play. That's, you know, how you earn extra possessions, right? So, you know, the title of this is winning extra possessions. We talked about it last week, facing off, you know, ways to do it if you're not winning clamps. Now we're talking about getting it through facing off, right? Because having more possessions than your opponent is just so critical, right? I think all of us have been a part of a game where you don't have, you know, as many possessions as your opponent, and it's tough. It's just tough to win those games. So we're going to move on to a drill now, and this is one of my favorite drills. I call revenge double teams, and what we're going to do is we're first going to show it on the whiteboard that I have behind me. Coach Hutchinson, you know, inspired me, so I ordered one off of Amazon. You know, I'm sure all of us have been using that quite a bit with the stay-at-home orders, right? So here, right, and if this is, you know, too far, you know, I can bring it a little closer. But first, we're going to talk about, you know, the revenge double team drill right here, right? So on the right side of this whiteboard, we have the way it's set up, right, is a defender here, a defender on either side. You can have a goalie in. You'll see in our clip the goalies are actually doing other work, so you don't have to have a goalie in the play. We have an attackman in the middle and a, you know, a midfielder near the top of the box. And for the purpose of this drill, we're going to treat the restraining line as the midfield line. That way, if you're doing this at a you know, a college or high school practice, you still have 3/4 of the field to work with for other players, right? For midfielders, for goalies. If you split up, you know, the attack and D to do something different on the other end, right? So ball is going to start with an overpass, all right? So ball is here, right? Starts with an overpass right here, all right? And the attack now is going to drop, right, to make this a north-south approach, and then make an approach on this defenseman. The midfielder is going to treat it as if he also has a guy deep that he has to cover. He's going to drop, right? He covers this guy, all right? And as the defenseman now has to carry the ball up the field, we're going to, you know, get ball pressure, right? We're going to work, and you know, I'm going to go back for a sec on this approach, right? He gets, you know, depth and then gets north-south on this approach. He's scraping the lane, right? His stick is in the passing lane, preventing any, you know, easy upfield passes. The midfielder is dropping to take away what would be the easiest pass right in front of him, all right? And then he's going to break down, and we're going to try to get a double team right here at the midfield line, right? And what this is working on is your footwork of your approach, the footwork of the midfielder having to drop deep and then sprint up here and meet him before the midfield line. Because if he meets him over here, it's a one-on-one. And nothing is more frustrating than an attackman working really hard, him running by him, and then the midfielder meeting him right here, and neither one of them have a great chance of taking the ball away, right? So we're going to get here, he's going to step up, and we're going to create this double team, and a term that Coach Byrne uses a lot on the defensive end that I really like, and it helps guys visualize how they're supposed to get the ball out. They're not coming up swinging their sticks. What they're doing is squeezing the ball out. They're using their feet. They're almost, you know, riding a guy's hip. The midfielder is communicating a stay right or a stay left, so the attackman knows he has help and isn't doing this on his own. And then you're going to end up, you know, creating a V right here where this guy either has to roll all the way away, and you try to keep ball pressure, at least one of them, you know, the midfielder may drop, and he's going to have to throw another east-west pass, or he's going to try to split, and you guys are right there, and the ball is going to come out, right? And then you have to execute a 2-on-1 ground ball and get away. So the way this drill works is ball goes, he comes up. We do it a lot of times without a lot of contact, so the defensemen don't feel like they have to try to dodge a double team. And they get here. If the attackmen do it right, good footwork, go to squeeze the ball out, we'll have the defenseman roll away and throw another pass, right? So that would be pass number 2. And now the next guys in line are doing the same thing, right? So you can do this as a continuous drill for 10 minutes. And if you have, 3 or 4 attackmen, 3 or 4 middies, they're going to get a lot of reps going both ways, right? And have a couple defensemen, that can spell each other doing this. And it's going to, end up being, a short, easy drill to work on footwork, communication, and double teams in the riding game. All right, so we're going to watch a few clips of that. One adjustment I do want to say that we've made before is we have put, so I'll erase all of this. We have put the attackman back here. Right, if you can see that, the attackman's now, underneath the defenseman as if he got run by. And now this midfielder, instead of dropping, super deep, he's got to step up and work on, communicating with the attackman, which side he should be on. And the attackman has to, chase him and find a good angle to slow him down enough and then squeeze the ball out. So 2 different ways to do that drill. All right, we're going to watch a few clips here. Back to the screen sharing. Excuse me one sec. All right, so if you see here, the start of this, we've got a defenseman, and we've got attackman, and we've got midfielder, right? And you can add more guys to this. For me, I think it's so quintessential in teaching, and I know this about high school. You just can't assume, guys know anything, right? And that's not an insult to them, but you just have to start super basic because, there may be one guy who's really, really good at this. There's going to be a lot of other guys who are going to try to skip step 1 of the footwork of this and get to steps 2, 3, and 4. Right. So starting with a super basic, this is how we double team, this is how we make an approach, is really important. So as we play this out, we don't do a great job scraping here. This attackman should have his stick up, and the way we scrape is not one-handed, but we should be, 2 hands on our stick in a lane. If you have an idea of where a guy is behind you, you can, scrape there. But in general, just having your stick up and trying to prevent him from seeing too far upfield until you get close enough to get to his hands. So as he gets here, we want to finish this approach and try to get to his hands, right? But we do a really good job of channeling him, against the sideline, knowing that we're going to have help coming from above here, right? So the midfielder does a good job of stepping over the midfield line, right? Remember we said this is the midfield line, even though it's only the 30. So he steps up, and now we're going to have a double team, right here. And as long as we communicate and use good footwork and don't get greedy trying to chop, this is going to be a turnover, or at least a roll away, and at least 1 to 2 more east-west passes, right? So I apologize for the glare that's in the middle there. But the defenseman tries to dodge it a little bit. We do a great job standing him up, great footwork, survive a double move, and now the ball's out, right? So he would be throwing it back. So now the next rep, all right, we're going to watch again. Now we've got, attack, midi, and defenseman here, right? Dropping here, covering the space. There could be a guy here, in a game, there's maybe another midi here who's going to be communicating where he should be and when he can bump up. I think that may be even a great adjustment is if you have kind of an all-time quarterback or an LSM who would be in this scenario, telling him when to step up and make this play, right? So attackman does a good job, sees that he's going to dodge, breaks down, and is starting to channel and doesn't want to let him to the middle of the field, right? So wants to keep him towards the sideline, use the sideline as a third defender and force him to run by him. So he gets here, the attackman or the defenseman goes to walk the dog, right? If we see, back here, instead of switching to his left to try to, throw the ball, he's walking the dog. So his stick is out here, right? And, you know, from there, it's you know, a great time to double team the ball, right? So they do a good job, right? You know, he ends up double, triple moving. You can live with that. If that's how it's going to be, you know, a defenseman has to, you know, swim and split a double team like that consistently, I think you're going to be in a good spot, right? So moving on to the next drill here, right? And we're going to show it really quick on the whiteboard, and then we'll get back to it. I know we're pressed up against 5 o'clock, right? But the next drill is called the 8x5 drill, and this is a drill that Coach Hutchinson came up with, right? So what we have is we have 5 riding players, right? We have 2 attackmen, all right? You do have a goalie, excuse me, and 3 midfielders, and then, you know, 8 you know, clearing players. And obviously that's not realistic, but they're not supposed to move much, right? This is really working on rules, you know, all 3 of our clearing or our riding rules, but mainly rules 2 and 3, right? I think the last drill is great to work on getting ball pressure, finishing approaches. This one here, right? Ball may start with the goalie. He throws it out to the side. So we're here and we're going to make this approach. We're going to get to this guy, all right? And we're going to bump to these guys leaving the up and over open and the far defenseman open. And this attackman can split a little bit, right? He's going to be what we like to say as far away as our speed allows, right? So if he's really quick and this guy gets good ball pressure, he can be, you know, splitting this almost 50-50, right? If this short stick starts to cheat a little bit, he's going to have to stay with him because that guy's more dangerous. And we want to force the ball east-west, right? So this is working on what most teams would call a one-down ride. We have 1 attackman down, and we have, you know, everyone else covering upfield passes, right? The ball can go, you know, over, all right, and then we're shifting where we're going. We're communicating back to front. So as the ball goes over, this guy has the biggest, you know, view of the field. He should be communicating to everyone, or at least the guys next to him on what they should be doing. This attackman would, you know, he would turn, make a good exit, and get to the short stick, and release this attackman to get back to this guy, right? Now, the other way to do this is to have a 2-down ride. And what we would do here is we would bring one of those midfielders down to help with the short stick in the middle, all right? So ball's here again, let's say. He steps up. He steps to the goalie. We're going to bring this backside midi up to this short stick, right? So now, you know, this guy has a little bit more of a split. He may be cheating a little bit between these 2 depending on their spacing. And we're giving up, again, this and this, but we've got ball pressure and we're not giving the easy outlet of the pass, you know, directly adjacent to him. So let's watch this. Again, Coach Hutchinson came up with this kind of on the fly in the fall for us. And I think it really worked well just as a basic core you know, riding drill to start with the basics of communicating, bumping, ball pressure, and you know, taking away those easy upfield passes. Let's see if we can go full screen here. It's going to be better. All right, so we see right now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 middies. We've got a short stick, D, and goalie, right? And then we see opposite. We see riding here, and we see our guys up here, right? Those are the X's here, right? So as we go, oh, looks like we're not going to get the full screen action. All right, so, you know, the attack does a great job here of not releasing too early, right? It doesn't have to be a baton toss, but what he does need to do is wait long enough that he can scrape the lane, that this guy won't be able to throw it quickly to a short stick, and they're up and out, right? And the next thing is he wants to get north-south, be able to make a good approach and not side to side where this guy can keep him on his back and get upfield, right? We have the opposite attackman dropping here, and I think we're even a little too close here, right? This is a really far pass. We can be a little farther away and help down, you know, either cheat to help here or even bump, you know, start to be in the middle. This guy could be right here, right, and allow this midfielder to release a little bit, right? Because if we're kind of, you know, cheating all the way over, we may be able to get a double team here, right? If he gets ball pressure and everyone bumps, and we can get that revenge double team drill right up in this area. All right. So attack does a good job. Everyone's covered. We're going to get ball pressure. We don't waste steps, right? This is, again, really important. I think, we had really good riding attackmen. I think we were on the way to being a really good riding team. I think, guys like Kyle Anderson, Ryan Graff here, Austin Madronic, all guys who really, understood what we were teaching riding and had that hunger and intensity to ride that really can't be taught, right? That's something that they just did really well. So we see the ball went over. So now, right, the bumping is really important. We had a great exit from our midfielders up here, right? If we watch this midfielder right here, watch the way that as the ball's released, it was just released, right? We can see the ball right there. All right. He's going to get up and get to this guy, right? We're a little slow on this release. And again, as soon as we see him start to wind up, we're going to have to start cheating a little bit. Right? We're going to have to, sideways run. It doesn't have to be an all-out sprint and turn your hips, but you got to start thinking of where your next roll is going to be. All right. So our attack, waits a little bit too long here to get to this guy because the ball's already past him, right? We're okay with him now throwing it east-west or even behind him. So this attackman waited a little too long, and now he's got a really tough approach, right? Well, like I said, we were late from this guy as he released from here. So now we're trailing this, and this is how you get it clear, right? He catches, big turns, and he's out of the way, right? So one more rep. Now we're working on 2 down, all right, like we just drew in the drill. And now we have a midfielder stepping down right here, right? And we see, we didn't do a good job. This is one of the first days we did it. He should be splitting and right in this area. This guy's doing a really good job of not being right next to his guy, taking that space. And then, of course, what we started this presentation with was ball pressure kind of hides a lot of errors. This guy makes a good approach and doesn't allow him to see this guy who's open right in the middle, right? This attackman can start to step down and force the ball over. We get here, right? This midi probably needs to release a little bit earlier and get up because, again, we see this guy cutting to be open, all right? And that's what ends up happening is we're a little slow to rotate, right? In this scenario, we would much rather have, this guy end up stepping down here while these attackmen, this attackman stays here, maybe gets here first and then releases down to the goalie. And that frees up this midfielder right here to get upfield and prevent this cut. Right. And that's what we're trying to prevent is upfield passes. We want ball pressure. Then we want to take away upfield passes. Right. So that one's called the 8x5, created by Coach Hutchinson. A really great drill. The revenge double teams, is a more starter drill, but is another great drill that's building pieces of riding. Right. And above all, right, I wrote it at the top of the whiteboard. Those are our 3 rules for riding. We want ball pressure, we want to take away the easiest, and then we want to communicate. Right. So as I said, again, it's a little over 5 and I apologize, but if we have some guys who have questions, now's the time. You can raise your hand and we can talk about riding or practice drills for riding. Okay. All right. It seems that I'm going to take that as I was very clear and concise with what I was teaching and there are no further questions. Thank you guys. This was awesome. I think all of us love doing this. I'm going to guess there will be one probably Thursday. Hopefully if you guys have topics, email us or, shoot us a tweet to the Harvard MLAX account. But we look forward to feedback and are excited to continue to do these, to help us, stay entertained and feed our lacrosse addiction here while we're stuck indoors. So thank you.